recent days you've posted some stuff about XRP. So I wanted to pull up a Matt Kratter video about XRP. He does arguably the best job dissecting this stuff. Some people believe XRP is going to go to $10,000 a coin. And we'll see.
They cannot do math then. What is the market cap?
Math.
What is 10,000? What's the total supply? 1 billion?
I think it's, I don't know. We'll find out now.
So
he goes over it in this video.
Okay, great. Because let's just say, I think it's a 1 billion total supply. So if it went to 10,000, that's 9 plus 4, that's 13 zeros. That is, what is that number?
I don't know. We need more MindLab Pro.
Yeah, I need more MindLab Pro. What is a 1 followed by 13 zeros? Because, well, that would be trillion. Yeah, that's $10 trillion market cap. That's what they think it's going to? Okay, that's insane.
So he posted a tweet here. Even the XRP army generals are retarded. Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen lost roughly 150 million worth of crypto because he used a password manager, LastPass, to store his private keys.
That's a great tweet.
Yeah. All right, let's watch this video.
First of all, what is XRP? XRP is a cryptocurrency that was issued by the software company called Ripple Labs, which is based in San Francisco. It was issued in order to dump it on naive retail investors. And that
XRP's total supply is 100 billion.
That's
not a billion.
Sounds better.
So it's 1,000 trillion market cap. So it's a quintillion.
It's not possible.
They think the market cap of XRP is going to be greater than all the wealth in the world.
It's XRP is preying on the financially illiterate.
Yeah, unit bias and the financially retarded, I will say.
Regarded. All right.
Which is based in San Francisco. It was issued in order to dump it on naive retail investors and thus fund their company operations, Ripple's company operations, in addition to obviously buying private jets and yachts for the executive team and this sort of thing. Ripple basically printed up its own money, so it's 100% Premine, and has been using it for years as a funding source. You'll often hear that Ripple did not create XRP, but that they just got lucky and they were magically awarded 100 billion XRP tokens that just magically ended up at Ripple Labs. That's not only a highly improbable story, but also a lie that has been thoroughly debunked. I'll put a link in the description notes to this article by Preston Byrne for the last time Ripple Labs created XRP. Now, one of the reasons that Ripple chose to issue so many tokens, in other words, to have a supply of 100 billion XRP, is to take advantage of what's commonly known as unit bias. So Bitcoin, for example, has only 21 million coins, so the fiat price of each has gotten quite expensive. And it's important to remind people here, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, you can buy a tiny fraction of a Bitcoin. But Bitcoin only has 21 million coins. It's very desired. It's the most important currency in the world today, so the fiat price of each one has gotten quite expensive. But because there are 5,000 times more XRP tokens than Bitcoin, it makes them look cheap, quote unquote cheap, to people who are financially unsophisticated, which is basically Ripple's targeted demographic.
So and I hesitate to say this because it is like a criticism of Satoshi, but I think this might be his greatest mistake in a way.
What's that?
Like making Bitcoin, let's say 21 million rather than 21 quadrillion or whatever, like to take advantage of unit bias. I guess other players would just further take advantage of unit bias. Like if it was 21 quadrillion coins or whatever the number, they would just add even more to try to take advantage of that unit bias and shitcoinery. But how many times have you heard NPCs or newbies say like, "Oh, Bitcoin's I'm priced out. I'm priced out. It's 100,000 a coin. I don't have 100,000. Therefore, I'm buying Shiba Inu shitcoin."
Yep.
I have heard that thousands of times. Like Uber drivers and whatever. Just like that's almost the first thing you hear from many, many, many people. And so I don't know. Again, maybe what I'm even saying here wouldn't be correct, but some remedy for unit bias would have been extremely useful.
Well, if the supply cap was, let's say, 100x higher, Could that have hurt the adoption rate? Because then the unit would have been so low in value for so much longer that it could have slowed the adoption down.
Maybe. I don't know.
And it's my understanding that there's something special about the numerology and the way that the whole network is designed.
Yeah.
Fractal Encrypt was giving me a tour of one of his mandalas. Mm-hmm. Epic. I can't remember any of it, but like every single part of it had meaning.
Yeah, it relates to 3, 6, and 9 a lot, I think, the numerology there. But I don't know enough about it either. But just I guess suffice it to say, unit bias is a very serious problem for people coming into this space.
Big time.
Because they instantly think, I can never buy Bitcoin because it's 100,000 a coin, or whatever the number was. Same thing was true at 10,000, right? People think you can only buy one coin at a time. So it's like, I need either 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 to buy these things. And then there's 80,000 of these other shit coins that are priced in the pennies. And so they're like, oh, well, let me just buy the penny stocks rather than the flagship.
Well, I think there's another element to it too, where if you were to buy Shiba Inu, for example, at, I don't know, 50 cents, and it goes up to $500, people are like, oh, I'm going to get rich. I can, it's that YOLO mentality. Tom Lee's talking about, Ethereum being capable of doing 100x. He doesn't think that that's probable for Bitcoin. The whole thing is really ironic. Like XRP's value proposition, being that they're going to replace SWIFT. Central bankers are going to buy your coins from you or something. I think that that's preposterous.
Yeah.
That's Bitcoin. It's like every single one of these cryptos or altcoins is like, this is something, if the world wants it, that could be written as a layer on top of Bitcoin. And XRP, every time I hear anybody talk about what XRP is going to do, I think that's exactly what Bitcoin is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure he'll have more to say about what its value proposition is, that XRP is supposed to be this rapid settlement protocol. I'm going to let him speak about that, and then I'll have more to say about it, because I think that too is just a self-refuting value proposition.
Being aware of the concept of unit bias also leads holders, being unaware of the concept of unit bias also leads holders of XRP to have highly unrealistic price appreciation expectations. XRP can definitely hit 10,000. Obviously, it can't, given it has so many tokens. And as we'll see, given that it's centralized garbage, XRP is basically the complete antithesis of Bitcoin, whereas Bitcoin is highly decentralized, which basically means that no small group of people can change the rules. Bitcoin has no pre-mine, no initial insider allocation. Satoshi did mine many, many coins at the beginning to secure the network, but these coins have never been moved or sold, and Satoshi was obviously not interested in private jets and yachts like the Ripple Labs.
And it was also open to the world to mine Bitcoin at the same time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a pre-mine. He was just the first adopter.
Yes.
So Bitcoin is 0% pre-mine, which supports his point that XRP is the antithesis of Bitcoin.
100%.
Executive team. So highly decentralized, no pre-mine, working to separate money from state. Bitcoin is basically freedom money, as everyone knows. And XRP is really the complete opposite of this. It's highly centralized. A small group can change the rules and can control the nodes, especially the important nodes that Ripple runs. These are really the definitive nodes that have the greatest say in the network. So XRP is highly centralized, 100% pre-mine with a huge initial insider allocation. And Ripple Labs is unfortunately also collaborating with governments to help to build a digital prison and enslave people with CBDCs. This is actually true. This is what they're doing, as we're going to see in a moment. CBDCs are one of the most evil things around. They're central bank digital currencies. It's a form of fiat where you have even less privacy and less control. So XRP and the people working on it are basically anti-freedom money people. Ripple Labs also has a long history of attacking Bitcoin with fake and false propaganda. And Ripple is able to do this because it has a very large marketing budget that it can use to bribe influencers and even once reputable charities like Greenpeace. And Ripple has this large marketing budget because it basically printed up its own private money, and there's still people dumb enough to accept it. So this was a movement or a campaign that happened a couple of years ago. Greenpeace working together with Ripple co-founder Larson to basically badmouth Bitcoin and to try to get people to change the code, to change it to proof of stake, which is just such a dumb idea on so many.
that's one of the many reasons why I'm so off put when people talk about crypto, because there are businesses or companies or individuals within the greater crypto market that are doing things that are bad for Bitcoin. Yeah. And that bothers me because I'm of the mindset that like this is the biggest deal in human history. We need this right now so bad. Bitcoin is so important. It's literally the solution to like almost every problem we have going on in the world today.
Yeah, it is the solution to broken money, which is the meta problem of, so many things. I don't even know if we know how many things at this point, but it's been connected to things as disparate as opiate epidemic, suicide rates, low fertility, wealth disparity, political polarization, obesity, ecological devastation, endless warfare, propaganda, fake news, psyops. Like it's the money printer is implicated in basically every major problem that we know of in the world. And Bitcoin is the solution to the money printer, right? Money you cannot print. And so it's easy to sort of like squeeze that into a few words, but to actually unpack the implications and consequences is, well, something you can spend a lifetime, I think, wrestling with. And therefore, any individual or company that tries to, what are they trying to do? They're trying to destroy the meta solution, basically, so that they can get rich quick. They're trying to stop one of the most profound innovations, which is all hopeless, by the way. So like it's such a futile effort. It's like trying to stop gravity or, I don't know, dry out the ocean or something. It's just such an absurd task to try to stop Bitcoin. Yet nonetheless, in their hubris and arrogance, being a money printer themselves, right? They printed 100 billion of these units out of thin air and then tricked people into buying them. It's almost indistinguishable from the central banking PSYOP, other than it isn't as long running yet, right? But if this thing did run a long time and for some reason Bitcoin weren't here to completely annihilate it or to prevent it from existing, then they'd probably become the warlords of the 21st and 22nd century, right? It's the same shit. They're just lying to people. They're creating this pyramid scheme and trying to dump their bags on people forever.
Yeah, and I would argue that if Bitcoin didn't exist, the government would shut something like this down.
Yeah.
This is illegal counterfeiting.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that the reason that Gary Gensler hasn't gone after all of these cryptocurrencies, I mean, if he would have said a couple of years ago, hey, these are all unregistered securities, we're going to go after every single one of them. I don't care if it takes the government 100 years. What would happen? Everything would go into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then maybe you have a few idiots that are like, oh, we're going to take it over and it's going to rip. But it's, I think it's a psyop. I think that there's really important people who understand that the game theory is playing out. You can't change the protocol. How do you stop the Bitcoin price from going through the roof?
Yeah.
You let people get wrecked buying shit like this.
Yes, which is why XRP is for retards, and it is retarded.
And evil
it's
people.
Causing retardation, actually, of Bitcoin adoption. Now, it's hard to say, right? You can't rerun these experiments. Would Bitcoin adoption be going on faster if there weren't all this market cap in XRP? Maybe, maybe not. But we can say that every retard that falls for the XRP PSYOP and puts their purchasing power in XRP rather than Bitcoin, well, that's non-accretive to Bitcoin. Although in the long run, when this thing blows up, as it inevitably will, it will trigger a stampede of people out of XRP into Bitcoin. So although it might retard Bitcoin adoption in the short run, it's likely to amplify it in the long run. This is one of those, you get into these weird scenario spaces where you realize like everything is good for Bitcoin.
I was just going to say that. And all roads lead to Bitcoin.
Yeah, you just can't avoid it.
So maybe this is a good thing.
Well, it's
what's good about this?
We've talked about
There's good in everything.
Shitcoins being like an inevitable consequence of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is open source code and it needs to be open source for it to work properly, right? Well, with open source code comes infinite replicability. You can copy that code and do it and change and do whatever you want with it, right? So although Bitcoin itself, the social consensus around 21 million doesn't change, right? People operating in their self-interest create this game theoretic Schelling point right? The immovable object, the unmoved mover, whatever you want to call it, the number zero, what number zero is to math, what God is to natural language, Bitcoin is to money. It's like this very serious absolute, basically, in a relative world. You also get all of these copycats, right? You get infinite imitators and all these little money cults that spring up around it. So is it good? Is it bad? It's like, well, in one sense, it's bad for the reasons we just covered. All the purchasing power that goes into those shitcoins is not going into Bitcoin. Okay, so short run, that's bad for Bitcoin. Although eventually they blow up and then trigger stampedes into Bitcoin, so it doesn't really matter for Bitcoin in the long run. And that pain, those lessons that get learned over time, this is all accretive to Bitcoin and Bitcoin education, right? People get blown up in a crypto scam or whatever. They learn through pain, oh, that's why Bitcoin's important. I'm now a lifelong holder. So people either get minted sort of through study or through pain. And then you've also got, I forgot what I was going with the second part of this now.
Well, I'll jump in and say something. I mean, a lot of the crypto traders are taking profits and putting them in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So in some ways, all of these altcoins are channeling capital into Bitcoin. And it's the unfortunate people that are holding the stuff that get hurt.
Yeah. So this is where I think I got tangled in my brain because I wanted to read this tweet and I put this out in January 25. And I think this basically captures what it is. XRP is a psychological operation designed to trick retail investors into giving away their money by leveraging a bot army to exploit retail investor ignorance of centralization versus decentralization, the nature of money, and counterparty risk. Don't fall for the scam. So when you initially get people to buy your shitcoin, right? This is innovation theater. Bitcoin explodes onto the scene. It goes from $0 to $1,000 by 2014. It creates this whole cascade of copycats, right? XRP being one of them. XRP was one of the few to initially leverage unit bias. And so it issues 100 billion tokens instead of 21 million. It starts this pump and dump scheme, right? But it's using what it does and what they do that's intelligent is they take the proceeds and they reinvest the profits of the scam into promoting the scam. So they're saying, oh, we've got all these partnerships with banks. Oh, we're the new SWIFT system. Oh, we're this. Oh, we're that. Then they're also using the proceeds to create bot armies on social media. So they are mimetically engineering or socially engineering people to think that there's actually a lot of interest and the capital is coming and this is the next Bitcoin and it's going to disrupt this and that, just by pretending like they're creating more signal online than there actually is through bots, and that pumps it harder. And then they dump again. They dump $500 million a quarter for 10 years.
Selling into that.
Exactly. Then they dump again, they reinvest the proceeds. So it's been this flywheel effect of pumping and dumping basically, but it's been reinvested intelligently to psychologically manipulate people. So it's quite literally, next to the US dollar, one of the biggest pump and dump schemes in the history of the human race. And it's all, the reason we say XRP is for retards is because, well, retard has a number of meanings, right? Retard can just mean to slow the growth of something. So as we just described, okay, purchasing power goes into XRP that would have gone into BTC. Well, you're actually retarding the growth of BTC in the short run. Okay, now in the long run, not so much because this thing's going to collapse, it's going to teach people, and it's going to all roads lead to Bitcoin, as we've said. But it's also these PSYOP victims, right? They are actually retarded. You're not studying what this is. He just went through it, right? It's the antithesis of Bitcoin. It's centralized. He just went through the whole thing. So Bitcoin is something that you actually need to be multidisciplinary and studious of to understand, right? You need to know a little bit about economics and game theory and computer science and psychology and the history of money and the nature of money, all these things. XRP, it's just this like fear-based compliance mindset.
Well said.
Right. One of these guys, I had retweeted one of these guys the other day too, and he basically said the quiet part out loud. And
one of the things Samson Mao says that I really love is Bitcoin has natural buyers and altcoin has natural sellers.
Yeah. So this guy, this is one of the XRP army bots or retards, right? It's either a bot or a retard. These are the only people that support XRP. You're either retarded or you're a bot.
Or evil.
There's
a few evil ones.
I guess you could be at the top of the, yes, you can be, one of the generals of the XRP army. In that case, you're probably, maybe not.
Have you ever seen a photo of Chris Larson?
No.
Dude, the look in his eyes, he's pale. There's a diabolical vibe in that guy.
Yeah, I believe it. So
and I think they pulled him and they put Brad Garlinghouse up front. They're like, hey, you know what? You go and scam everybody because this guy, he looks like the devil.
Yeah. So this guy, one of the XRP army cadets or whatever the fuck they are.
General.
XRP is the chosen one by the elites. We can't get rid of the current system. Might as well upgrade them and join them. Bitcoin is slow and expensive. The entire world of value will be tokenized, bro. So like, it's this mentality of I am a slave. I can't do anything about the existing system. XRP is just going to upgrade the existing system. I've already missed Bitcoin because of unit bias, retardation. Therefore, let me get some of this $3 XRP over here that's going to be the same thing as Bitcoin. And so you're forfeiting your autonomy when you buy XRP.
Well,
and you're selling your future generations into fucking indentured servitude, as he said earlier about the toilet cleaning. It's like, come on.
Well, you're also leaning into what we should all be fighting against.
Yes.
It's a great capitulation. It's just like mentally giving up. We're going to be enslaved. We're going to be in a digital prison. We'll hope I can make a couple bucks on the way.
Yes. And ultimately,
and I think that is a bitch. If you're thinking that way, you're a fucking bitch. I'll just say it.
You know, one thing.
Stand up and fight for the world you want to see.
Exactly.
Excuse the vulgarity, but it just grinds.
No, it's absolutely correct. And, money is a very useful word for invoking a lot of useful conceptual metaphors. And this idea of taking something at face value, like XRP holders, which again are retards or bots, right? The bots don't hold it, but they're just amplifying it online and then the retards hold it. You're just taking something at face value, right? They're just saying, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're this, we're that. And you're just saying, okay, and you bought it, right? There's no one no one does that for Bitcoin, right? We all like go into Bitcoin. Everyone is so far down the rabbit hole, hundreds of hours of study, the most diverse and eclectic group of intellectuals you've ever seen in the world, all highly disagreeable, by the way, like the most fucking antagonistic ragtag group of people you've ever met, yet all coming to common agreement about one thing, and is that Bitcoin is money and everything else is shitcoin. And so you should really ask yourself, like, have enough love for your bloodline and future generations of your family to do a little homework and not take things at face value and sell your bloodline into indentured servitude by buying XRP. That's what makes you a retard in the technical sense.
Well, as Sailor said, you work, 40 to 60,000 hours of your life?
Chasing money.
Probably prudent to spend 100 hours learning about what money is.
Studying money, yes. And XRP ain't it, bro.
No. Well, so my wife has a friend, a year and a half, 2 years ago, she mentioned to her, of course, my wife's like evangelizing Bitcoin. And her friend says, oh yeah, Bitcoin took all my money. And my wife's like, what do you mean? And she like pulled out her Coinbase app and she's like, she got some Cardano, some XRP, some Solana, some SHIB. So people don't understand. They hear like, oh, this is something that you need to buy. Somebody might be a Bitcoin maxi. They're talking with their friends at dinner. They could be a watcher of the show. And somebody goes home and they're like, hey, let me get on to Brian Armstrong's nice convenient app here. And like, oh, Fartcoin's a top mover. I bought some Bitcoin today. Yeah.
And it's another one of these, there's a lot of murky areas, but so Coinbase, which is an early Bitcoin company, all air quotes on all of this stuff. Well, they face the dilemma of, if we're going to be in the business of profit maximization, well, it turns out being a shitcoin casino is really profitable. Right? There's a lot of stupid fucking people in the world to sell shitcoins to. And that's what they leaned into, right? They became a shitcoin casino and they pursued profit maximization. But at what point, and I had a guy here the other day who's like pseudo shitcoiner and he's like, yeah, well, they're just, being a fiduciary. I'm like, yeah, but at what point did you cross the line of ethicality and that you're selling people Fartcoin, right? You shared that email with me from Coinbase 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh, Fartcoin's a big mover this week. It's up 30. It's like,
Makes my
Like
head want to explode.
like when are you a shareholder in that business and you get that email and you're just like, this is not right. Did I just email all of our customer base and tell them Fartcoin is a big mover and they should buy it?
That's why Bitcoin
when do you look in the mirror?
is like an ethics test. It really is.
Yeah, it's an IQ test. It's an ethics test. And I guess you could summarize and to say shitcoining is just deceitful money. And it may take you a while to reach that conclusion, but it's pretty much the conclusion that everyone who does the work reaches. So, don't trust, verify, but there's a lot of people that have been through this verification process and we're all disagreeable and yet we all agree on this. So,
yeah, I heard somebody say, and I like to think that there's not too many people that got wealthy shitcoining, but there are some people who made a ton of fiat and like with Ethereum, and there's some
Brian Armstrong is a billionaire from shitcoining.
Well, not as a holder though. He kind of falls into a category.
Well, when you build a shitcoin casino, I guess I'm calling that shitcoining.
Yeah, I would argue he doesn't have any altcoins on his balance sheet.
Oh, his personal? Yeah, probably not, but he's made an incredible amount of money by founding and scaling a shitcoin casino.
Total dick.
Right? The Brad Garlinghouse and these other Ripple guys, they've all made their money flat out selling shitcoins to people.
I would be shocked if Larson and Garlinghouse don't have Bitcoin.
No, they definitely do.
That's and another thing too is there's no XRP. I mean, maybe there are XRP maximalists.
No.
Like everybody in the altcoin space,
they're bots.
They all have Bitcoin and then this diversified portfolio of all this crap. The fact that there is this enormous growing movement of Bitcoin maximalists, people who hold nothing but Bitcoin, that is a big indicator in itself. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I can't think of anybody who's like, yeah, I'm an Ethereum maxi. I sunk 100% of my net worth into Ethereum.
Yeah. I mean, there's, again, that word decentralization. It's the operative word. It's like, which one have all of the participants in the network or the participants in the game, have they chosen for themselves? And that's only true of Bitcoin. Everything else is some small group of people created the game and then sold it to people. And then they control the game. They sell the supply. They pre-mine. They just extract from later adopters of the game. Right? It's the same thing central banking does, right? They impose use of the dollar network on the world, right? Via the petrodollar standard or whatever it may be. And then they print money, which is effectively breaking the rules of the game to extract from those players. It's the same thing. Shitcoining is digital fiat, basically, without the guns yet. But maybe one day these two worlds will come together.
I was just thinking that. Yeah. All right, let's finish this up, see what he's got.
Levels. But this is what you can do. You can, if you have a little bit of money, you can bribe corrupt charities like Greenpeace. I think Predator has done a really good job here of compiling lots and lots of people who are apparently on Ripple's payroll and pushing their things. And he says, if you browse TikTok, which I'm not on, it makes a lot more sense why XRP is pumping. There's almost no Bitcoin Maxi content on TikTok. But presumably a lot of these influencers are being paid. And we saw this a couple of years ago as well, where Ripple was handing out XRP and doing these publicity stunts, like when Ellen DeGeneres got $4 million. You wonder if she shared some of it with Diddy. Ripple XRP is what's called decentralization theater. None of it is real. You can't even examine the early transaction history of the protocol since the early ledger entries have disappeared. Ripple is missing 32,000 blocks. It is a ledger instead of a blockchain, but those early transactions are apparently missing. In addition, even though Ripple has had a huge marketing budget for XRP over the years, XRP has still failed to achieve any real inorganic adoption, quite unlike Bitcoin. Its main business strategy, Ripple's main business strategy, has been to bribe other companies to use XRP. We saw this with MoneyGram a couple of years ago, where they were basically bribing MoneyGram to say that they were using XRP. And then, of course, that fell apart because it's not really useful to anyone. And the funny thing is, even with all this corporate marketing and bribery, XRP is still trading below its 2018 highs. And it's even much worse if you denominate it in Bitcoin. We can see here the price of XRP versus the US dollar. And it's still, even with the post-Trump victory run-up, it's still trading below levels that it last saw in 2018. So it looks quite different from Bitcoin's chart. And if we take a look at the XRP Bitcoin chart, we can see that XRP is basically trading at the same point it was back in 20.
Just to throw in something we've talked about on the show before, but this is not too dissimilar from the fact that, the origin point of Keynesian economics, basically. It's like you have a money printing monopoly. So you then need to not only create propaganda and news that justifies its existence, but entire academic paradigms. Pseudoscience, right? So it's, again, the fake money leads to fake news and fake science, right? Just like the fake XRP token leads to all of these fake partnerships and fake, the thing with Greenpeace where they basically, it was the big green skull, right? They said Bitcoin's boiling the oceans and we need to change the code.
Yeah, change the code, not the climate.
Right. So that you get these fake scientific activist movements that are saying they're trying to save the climate when in reality they're just propagandizing against Bitcoin, which is the biggest competitor.
Well, and imagine working at Greenpeace. You got these people that are there that are like trying to save the planet.
Yes.
That are struggling,
right,
being lied to, and avoiding the very thing that is going to make energy abundant and create abundance and economic fairness and all these things.
Yeah. And it's just, once again, when the money is corrupted and the rules are unstable, you get corrupt outcomes, right? So people that are working at Greenpeace, you're no longer working to save the environment. Once that money comes in from XRP, you've now become a mouthpiece for XRP. Their willpower, their agenda, their aims become yours indirectly. So the aim and mission of that organization has been corrupted by the corrupt XRP token coming into them. And so this is that concept we keep coming back to, right? When you get corruption or pathology in the economic lifeblood, that all of the organs, whether they be social institutions, businesses, nation states, also become corrupt.
Systemic
corruption, exactly.
14. Financially unsophisticated people unfortunately believe the lies that XRP is going to be the basis for a new global financial system, that it's going to replace SWIFT as a banking network or messaging network, that it's going to be a bridge currency, a quote-unquote bridge currency for cross-border payments, etc. Nothing could be further from the truth. No central banker or nation state would ever think of giving this much power to a tiny San Francisco software company or imbuing someone else's token with really so much value. But there is a kernel of truth to this claim, because Ripple's main business now seems to be consulting with governments to help them enslave their people with CBDCs, with central bank digital currencies. This is from Ripple's own website back in March of 2021. Ripple pilots a private ledger for central banks launching CBDCs. It looks like that went well, because now, as of June 2024, Ripple partners with 10 governments to develop CBDCs. This is really the height of evil. Ripple is working to help global governments build CBDCs, pure evil and the exact opposite of the cypherpunks ethos of freedom money that gave birth to Bitcoin. So if you own XRP or you promote it, you are actively helping to build a digital prison for yourself, your children, and your grandchildren. In fact, if you own XRP, you probably fall into one of these three camps. Number one, you own it because you printed it up for yourself. You're part of the Ripple executive team. If so, you're completely unethical, but you have a lot of money. Number two, you bought XRP on the open market because you're financially unsophisticated and think that you can outperform hodling just Bitcoin over time. Spoiler alert, you can't and won't. You might be able to outperform Bitcoin for short periods of time, but on a post-tax basis, it's impossible, I believe, to outperform Bitcoin. And this is one reason you see a lot of wealthy Bitcoiners. You don't meet a lot of wealthy XRP people. The only wealthy XRP people are the ones who printed up the money for themselves and either work at Ripple Labs now or used to work at Ripple Labs. And then the third camp, you bought XRP because you're evil and you support Ripple CBDC projects. Hopefully there are not a lot of people out there like this. But the thing is, if you really love the World Economic Forum and its policies, then Ripple, then XRP is definitely the coin for you. Ripple is the complete antithesis of Bitcoin and freedom money, and they let it be known quite widely. So if you're in XRP, you're either stupid or you're evil. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons.
He kills it.
Yeah, so don't be retarded and don't be evil.
Yeah, and as the price pumps, if XRP rips over the next short period of time, there are people who are waiting for that to happen who are going to sell it.
Of course. They already are. Didn't he just sell 200.
Well, that's what all the insiders are doing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but all the retail holders.
Yeah, it's all pump and dump.
It's unfortunate.
And this is one of those, again, wild realizations about Bitcoin. Many people have accused Bitcoin of being that, basically, pump and dump scheme. What XRP actually is, many people confuse and accuse Bitcoin of being. The thing about Bitcoin is that there's no dump. Where do you dump it? You already have the most decentralized, perfectly fixed supply, highly concealable, highly portable, largest market cap crypto asset in the history of the human race. You have digital gold in your possession. Where do you dump that?
Yeah, you have scarcity, true scarcity,
Absolute.
finality of supply. We never had that. In 2021, I had a couple conversations with both my accountant, who's a nice guy, but he's got the Keynesian mental plague. And my father, I think Bitcoin was like 50, 60K at the time. And my dad's like, oh my God, you got to sell it. Like, for what? You don't get it. What am I going to go do? Get a fourplex? Then I got to paint it and make sure that someone doesn't smoke meth and destroy the inside of my house. Like, what? Hurricane comes through. California raises their taxes. You know, it's like they print a shitload of money and put into effect rent controls.
Yeah.
You go on and on and on and on about all the reasons why literally everything else is inferior to Bitcoin.
It's
by orders of magnitude, it's not even close.
It's not even the same form of property right, basically. You have a superior form of property right in Bitcoin than you can have in any other asset, right? It's a digital bearer asset. To keep a secret is to hold the asset.
You kill me, you don't get my shit.
Exactly.
That is the biggest deal ever.
Yeah.
That's such a big deal.
Exactly.
Since the beginning of time, people have had to figure out how to not get killed and have their stuff taken from them.
And so what is a pump and dump scheme minus the dump?
Bitcoin.
It's a pump scheme. It's a perpetual pump scheme. And what has Bitcoin been doing? Perpetually pumping for 15 years. Like, when are you going to wake the fuck up and stop being retarded and buying XRP and just buy BTC and take a vacation and relax? And you don't need to be so caught up in all these partnerships and news cycles and CBDC evil digital prison plots.
Well, and I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. It's like I've come to a place as a Bitcoiner where I see all this stuff happening in the world and I get maybe somewhat of an emotional response to it, but I don't care. It doesn't affect me. And ironically, the worse it gets, the better Bitcoin gets.
Of course.
The crazier the world gets and the harder the economic form and whatever diabolical evil overlords do to push us into this digital prison, the faster Bitcoin takes over.
That's why I think Bitcoin really does amplify the better angels of our nature, and that the crazier the world gets, the more XRP pump and dump schemes there are, the more closer we move to World War III, the more central banks push CBDCs or bail-ins, bailouts, money printing, all of the chaos and entropy that flows from these organizations. Most of the people in the world just want to like enjoy life, you know, have a chance to move up through hard work and then be left alone.
Totally.
And so what does Bitcoin do? It lets you do that. It lets you as a good person just opt out of all the evil and the entropy. So I think as all this stuff ratchets up, people are just going to flow back into Bitcoin. And then all of that, there's less attack surface for all of the entropy and the evil in the world. And then what are we left with? I think hopefully a much better world run by good people doing hard work and good things.
Yeah, we're probably on the precipice of a large print. We had the bailouts in 2008. But I think what a lot of people fail to see is that Satoshi's innovation is the biggest bailout in human history.
Yeah, opt out, I would say. But just to disambiguate from bailouts, right? There's no money being printed to save a failing organization. You just get to opt out of a world where that is possible, right? We're too big to fail. Like, are you kidding me? It's like, okay, if the dinosaurs were the biggest organisms on the earth, do you think Mother Nature intervenes and says, okay, well, I can't let them die anymore. Like, we just permanently have dinosaurs and evolution has stopped.
No, the bigger you are, the harder you fall.
Exactly.
I watched it in the cannabis business for many, many years. You know, there was moments I was like, oh man, I'm missing out. All these people, they're buying their 3rd, 4th, 5th 100-acre spread and they're putting out all this canopy as the price started to plummet really quickly. And I was the negative guy who was like, wait a second, I just got licensed. Everyone's getting licensed. Everyone's all pumped. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to end well.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to sell my place.
Yeah.
Buy some Bitcoin.
This is where
I've watched all these people go out of business. It's sad. I mean, they worked hard, they spent all their money, and they reinvested into a business that, you know, has struggled because of the margins.
But your disagreeability saved you.
It did.
And that's important, right? Like there's an African proverb, when the elephants battle, the grass suffers. Right? It doesn't matter necessarily what you do, how hardworking or intelligent you are. If you're in one of these industries where the price is collapsing because
which is every industry, unless you have some sort of a monopoly, or patent law, some sort of a regulatory moat, your margins are always unsafe.
They're always under attack by competition, right? And that's a good thing, actually. That's a healthy process of capitalism. It's like, well, wherever there's a lot of profits, well, that's a signal that problems are being solved, right? People want more of those problems solved. So it invites competition. And so you can think of profit as like this error correction signal, right?
There's not enough of something, people pay more.
Yeah. And so they get competed down, which means products and services get provided better, faster, cheaper to more people. And the whole world moves in the right direction through this process. So it's not a bad thing, but you know, if you are the producer in that industry, it's like, well, you don't want to, I just spent all this money on OPEX, CapEx, licensing, whatever the thing may be. Well, you don't, if all of a sudden your margins are getting competed down, well, then your investment is becoming less and less lucrative. So I don't know. It's like Bitcoin, it returns that benchmark to value investing where you can just kind of pull out of any of these things, store whatever profits you do earn. You can put it in something that is not subjected to all of these market risk. And then you can find the thing where you do have some asymmetric opportunity, and then you can deploy those funds and go out and try to solve customer problems better, faster, cheaper. So Bitcoin's just re-enabling capitalism in a way. But when people, I would assume a lot of those people that were in your industry, they don't know anywhere else to put their money, right? All they know is cannabis. All they've done.
Bought some real estate. The ones that bought rental properties are doing decently well.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting thing that I think the balance sheet strategy, Bitcoin makes the understanding of why that's important so much more clear. Mm-hmm. Where I feel like, especially in my prior industry, a lot of people are perpetually chasing the profits. Mm-hmm. It's very P&L focused.
Yeah, because you've got inflation nipping at your heels all the time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for an example, 10 years ago, a premier world-class bulk wholesale pound of cannabis was like $3,000 on average. Mm-hmm. Now a better pound, we do a better job. Our yields are higher, THC is higher, terpene profiles are higher. A better pound is like $1,000. And the operating expenses have doubled. So you're making like 1/6 per unit you produce relative to what you were 10 years ago. Right. And then if you scale up, you're further exacerbating the problem.
Which is all good for the consumer.
Totally. The product is better. It's cheaper.
But hard on the producer, right? So, yeah, to be disagreeable and look around corners in that way, that's also what got you into Bitcoin, right?
It is.
Bitcoiners are notoriously disagreeable.
What got me into cannabis, too. I've always been one to think for myself. And I believe that we should have freedom and optionality. Yeah. Growing up, I had the realization, wait, you can take all these crazy pills, you can drink alcohol, you can smoke cigarettes, but you can't just smoke this plant that makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's and so weird. And to take it full circle to this XRP thing, it's like, again, I said it, don't take things at face value. Another way to say that is try to think for yourself. And even if you have the self-awareness that maybe you aren't a highly disagreeable person or you're not very studious or whatever, there's so many resources now. Like we just watched one, Bitcoin University, right? Go just listen to some of these podcasts, get a diversity of opinions. Don't take our word for it. Go listen to fucking XRP podcast too if you want. Apply some critical thinking and it'll fall apart, I'm sure. But don't just take things at face value, right? Then you are just going to be a victim for propaganda and or psyops.
Well said. Yeah. I mean, in the Bitcoin standard, it's so obvious once you see it. It's like the first time I heard Jeff Booth. It was actually the Booth series on your show. That's the first time I ever knew this guy existed. When I was working in my grow room, actually, with my headphones in, and I hear him say, the natural state of the free market is deflation. Pause.
Yeah.
Wait a second. That is so obvious.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds, I think it's obvious as well, but I feel like that terminology might be impenetrable for some people. Like the word deflation, people are like, what the fuck's deflation? Right? Obviously price deflation. And that is correct. All right. The most simplistic way I've ever been able to put it is this. Like if money printing isn't theft, then why is currency counterfeiting a crime?
That's great. My dad always tells me when I'm having conversations with him, and most of them come back to Bitcoin. He goes, you got to figure out how to say it all much simpler, Eric. I'm like, I'm not even the most sophisticated guy. He goes, you got to make it so simple. If you're trying to orange pill the world, you got to say things much simpler.
It's just like we were talking about the YouTube strategy stuff the other day. You have to do it like you're talking to 5-year-olds. And it is a real struggle because, well, 5-year-olds don't use money that much. I mean, I don't... Like, is saying that too much for a 5-year-old? Probably. Hopefully not my 5-year-old. But yeah, if money printing is theft, then why is currency counterfeiting crime? Even that's got some big words in it, right?
Yeah.
Like, Dad, what's counterfeiting? So, but I don't know. What's a simpler way to say it? I love how Thomas Massey just picks up the fucking glass and he's like, this is beer. This is water. And he pours it in. He said, this is dilution. We all know what this is. This is what money printing does. It's like, okay, well, that's pretty easy to conceptualize. We all know what watered down beer is like, or whatever, watered down juice. So I don't know. I mean, as someone that's spent like 5 years trying to find that magical sequence of words, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, something about Bitcoin, it rewires your neurological pathways and allows you to see the world a lot more clear. And a lot of these things, for me, going through the Bitcoin journey, there was like this series of cerebral, it's almost like a feeling of being on psilocybin where you're like, oh, you have that epiphany moment. You're like, wait a second. I can't believe I didn't know this.
Yeah. Revelatory. And to be fair, XRP also rewires your neurological pathways, but it makes you retarded.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. As Matthew Kratter says, like and share and subscribe and hit the notification bell and share this video with friends or family. We're on Twitter. I'm on X now. It's X. Until he goes pro Bitcoin, I might still call it Twitter. Eric V Stacks.
At Breedlove 22 on Twitter.